Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Let's talk about what's enough food to have for a year. Maybe you saw my previous video where I discussed all of the different types of grains that you could have and the amounts that are probably important to stockpile if you needed to feed yourself for, say, a year. Why a year? Well, we just never know with what the future holds. You don't have to have enough food for a year, but you might want to think about adding to your stockpile so that you have plenty of food in an ever-changing world. Things are becoming more dangerous, prices are going up, shortages are apparent, and there certainly are wars breaking out all over the world. That leads me to believe that we are going to have shortages, rising prices, and it could be complicated trying to source all of the food that we need. So that's why I'm taking inventory of the foods that I have and I'm adding to it to make sure that I have enough. You don't have to have a whole year's worth of food. Make sure you have a few days worth, a week's worth, a few weeks, maybe a month or more. It's up to you how much food makes you feel safe and that you are in control of your own destiny. In a previous video, I talked about the amount of grain that you would want to have. Today I'm going to talk about beans. Beans are a great source of protein. They're full of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. They're inexpensive. They're reasonably easy to prepare. A lot of them are delicious. And beans are a great food that you can store away that can last for a very long time without you having to do much to it except store it properly. Having a stockpile of food means that you have lifestyle insurance. You'll have the foods that you need to be able to feed your family, whether there's a crisis in the world or just in your own home. Maybe you get sick and you can't get to the store. Maybe you've run out of money before you've run out of a month. What if prices become so expensive or gas is so expensive you can't afford to drive to the store? Wouldn't it be comforting to know that you have a prepper pantry and an emergency food stockpile so that you could continue to feed your family? Then that allows you the comfort and the ease of getting a meal on the table, and then that gives you the brain width to figure out how to cope with whatever the problem is that is at hand. We don't want to struggle with just getting a meal on the table when there's other emergencies going on. We want to be able to feed our family and move on and deal with the bigger problems that could face us in the future. Let's talk about beans. My suggestion is to store 150 pounds of beans. That sounds like a lot, but when you figure out that they are full of calories, they're full of protein, they're full of nutrition, and if you combine them with your grains, you can have complete meals. Beans are also great because dried beans can be sprouted and then you'll have something fresh to eat as well. There are so many different kinds of beans, and for the longest lasting, we want to store dried beans as single ingredients, and then they can last the very longest, 30 years maybe. And so you don't have to eat all of this food this year. You can eat some of it, use, rotate, replace. Then you have some of the longest lasting foods that should you run out of the simple to prepare day-to-day foods, you'll still have that backup supply of dried beans that you can combine those with your other foods. You can go to the store, buy bags of beans, bring them home, put them into airtight containers. Anything that's a food-safe storage container that food came in, never held any kind of a chemical or anything like that, you can clean those well and store food in them. Look for sturdy containers. Don't use something like an old milk carton because you can't get those completely clean. They're not sturdy and they're just not an acceptable way to store things, but lots of other heavy-duty plastic containers are. You can also find some jars. Clean those out, rinse them well, get them completely dry, and then check the lids on all of these types of things that you're reusing and make sure that you get the odor and the aroma out of the lid so that you don't end up storing your food in, say, a pickle jar and now everything smells like pickles. That's not what you want in all of your food. Another thing that I like about the Classico spaghetti sauce jars is it's the same size as a regular Mason canning jar. You can put the metal lid underneath and then use the lid to seal it up well, and then it isn't going to get any aroma from that original lid from the pasta sauce. There are all kinds of beans. Let's think about all the different kinds that there are. Black beans, pinto beans, garbanzo beans, white beans, red beans, navy beans. There's all different kinds. Maybe you want to pick up a bag or two of a different variety that you like and store those away. You can buy a 20-pound bag, but then you don't have the variety if you're just starting out. So if you want to eat pinto beans every day, go ahead and buy a 20-pound. But if you want to have more variety, I suggest you start with a few smaller bags and add those into your pantry. Then go for a bigger bag of beans. Store those in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and store them into heavy-duty buckets with tight-fitting lids, and you can have that food set aside for many, many years to come. Another thing that I like to do is purchase food from the LDS or the Mormon Church. It comes already sealed in a number 10 can. You can hear this one's full of beans. It's high quality food, it's not very expensive, and you don't have to be a member of the LDS or the Mormon Church. Anyone can buy food from them. And when you order from them, you get a box with 6 of the same type of food in a number 10 can. So you get 6 of these in each package, and they mail it to your house for like $3.50. It's a very economical way to stock up on food that's already sealed to last. Then you don't have to worry about, did I get my correct containers? Did I seal them properly? And then you don't have the added expense of Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, buckets. Those are all great ways to store food, but this is a handy way too. Plus, I like it that's in a smaller size container so that if I need to rotate some of this food or I need some more dried beans, I can go and get one of these out of my prepper pantry, my food storage stockpile, and I can open it up and put it into my working pantry and continue to use, rotate, and replace this food. I don't have to get it out and use it if I don't want to. It can still be there for the long haul. When you're looking at beans, remember that green split peas and lentils are also in the beans and legumes. These are easy to prepare, much faster than cooking regular beans. They're very versatile. I have made even a video about how I combined some lentils and split peas with some brown rice and made some meals in a jar. I'll put a link to that video to show you how you can then prepare some simple meals with this food so that you know how to use, rotate, and replace these foods. If it's not something you use all the time, you need to make the effort to learn a few recipes on how to cook beans, how to use those beans, how to use your lentils and split peas. They're not complicated. It just takes a little bit of learning, and then take the time to prepare them, because it does take some time to cook beans, lentils, or split peas. We may not always have the time to soak our beans or cook them in a crock pot or boil a big pot of lentils, but we can have those foods still in a simple way. We can have some of those canned. Then if you want to make a recipe that includes beans, you can add that right out of your pantry into your recipe. It's a great way to use the beans that you have on hand. What I like to do sometimes is prepare a crock pot of beans, and I always figure that 1 pound of beans is equal to 3 cans of prepared beans. So if I make them in my crock pot, I can put them into smaller containers and even put them in the freezer and have those for the future. That gives you the option to cook some of your beans and then put them into your recipes and use it in a less expensive manner than using a can of beans. And then it's very convenient too. You can cook them up and store them in your refrigerator for a few days, but you may not want to have a big old pot of beans that you need to eat it every single day. So know that you can store them in smaller containers and store them into your freezer. Let's look at some other ways that we can have some beans in our pantry, that we don't have to just use 150 pounds of dried beans. Maybe you'd like to try something like bonza, which are rigatoni noodles made out of chickpeas. So you have an option, especially if you're, say, gluten-free maybe, or you're on a vegan kind of a lifestyle, then you have other options for how to have a variety of beans in a different form in your diet. Let us know if you've tried these kind of pastas and how did you enjoy them. I also like to look for soup mixes. For example, this is from Bob's Red Mill. It's a 13-bean soup mix, and it's very hearty, it's very delicious, simple to prepare. It already has all the variety that if, say, you wanted to make a multiple bean recipe, and you don't have all those different beans, it could cost you a lot of money to buy bags of 13 different beans to try to make this soup. So sometimes it's convenient to buy something that's already put together so that you can have that variety in your prepper pantry, in your food storage stockpile. The ingredients are all on the back and the ways that you can prepare these soups. And basically you just boil water, add some of the soup mix into it, and you have a delicious hearty meal. There's a lot of food in the Bob's Red Mill soup mixes because the recipe calls for 1 cup of the bean mix with 3 cups of water, and then it tells you how to cook it on the stove, in the crock pot, or a multi-cooker. I guess that's like an instant pot. So then you can have options of how you want to make your food. So let us know if you've tried any kind of the multiple bean soup mixes from Bob's Red Mill or other brands, and how did you enjoy them? We can also find meal options of cans of beans that are already prepared into a quick and easy meal. For example, here's a 3-bean salad. It already has 3 different kinds of beans already prepared and a nice dressing in it. You can chill it, serve it as is, add in some fresh greens, tomatoes, things like that. And so you have the versatility of a bean meal that you don't have to do a lot of cooking. How about the Glory seasoned red beans and rice? This is a great way to have an instant meal. It's all of the rice and beans are already prepared. I made a video on 3 ways that I have used these red beans and rice, and I'll put a link to that video in case you want to see some different kind of options, in case you would like to try something like this and you're not familiar with it. Let's not forget chili, cans of chili. They come all different brands, all different flavors. You could have 30 different cans that would all taste different because they have so many varieties. If you see a can of food that you haven't ever tried before and you want to check it out and see if you like it, just buy one, take it home and try it. If you like it, you can always go back and get more. Don't stock up on food you're not familiar with, because nobody wants to go to their pantry and see there's only food they don't like. You don't want to do that on the best day of your life, and you really don't want to do it in an emergency or when you're struggling with other hardships. Stock up on foods that you enjoy eating. Another easy way to add beans into your prepper pantry is to look for already prepared beans in a pouch. These are simple, especially if you want to go camping or something like that. They're not as sturdy of a package as a can, but they're certainly a great way to have food on hand. You could cut this open, squeeze it over some already pre-cooked rice, or even onto a tortilla, make a burrito. It's nice to look at options and varieties to have the foods that we like. Think about your food storage and your stockpile as lifestyle insurance. Just like you have insurance for your health, for your home, for your car. You want to ensure that you can have food going forward. You'll always be able to feed yourself and your family. That's why I stock up on things, and that's why I prepare, and I'm a prepper. I want my life to be as smooth as possible, and that's why I make videos also, is to share that knowledge with you to help you have a better day going forward also. Let us know in the comments below, how are you stocking up on beans and legumes? Do you think you could eat 150 pounds of them in a year? Hopefully we won't have to, but we want to have the simplest foods that we could have some beans when we need them, and then the dried beans that are put away so that if something happens in the future, we can still have food on hand. We'll probably want to go into our pantry and try eating these first, but what if those all run out? Then you might want to go to that long-term food storage that you've stored away for 30 years. Because you don't have to wait 30 years to use it. You can use it whenever you like. But you don't have to start breaking it out tomorrow if the power goes out. That's when you want to make sure that you don't just have the longest lasting food, that you have foods that you can tear open and eat so that you can get going again. If you shop on Amazon, if you click on the link in my description before you shop, it doesn't cost you anymore, and it provides a little bit of revenue that helps support my channel. I hope you'll like my video, share it, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.